It's a day ending in a Y, so the BMA has voted for strike action again. The NHS could now face 6 months of disruption after some 90% of voting resident doctors in England, formerly known as junior doctors, said they would down their stethoscopes and take to a picket line amid an ongoing row over pay. The BMA wants a pay rise of 29.2% to reverse the, quotes, pay erosion since 2008-9. Danny Mortimer is Chief Executive of NHS Employers. Thanks for coming on, Mr. Mortimer. I wonder what your reaction is to this ballot.
I think it's two things. I'm really troubled that the BMA have taken this response to, as you know, in your clip you played, the Secretary of State, the government have put in place the highest pay awards in the public sector for resident doctors. I think the second thing, of course, is that this will only impact on our patients. The last time the BMA took strike action, which was January, winter of last year, for over 5 days, 90,000 people had their care disrupted, their appointments delayed, and that's 90,000 people, in distress, worried, sometimes in pain, whose treatment was delayed, and so this just has an impact on the public. And as I said, this government have actually gone out of their way in the last 12 months to invest in particular in pay for resident doctors.
How much has their pay gone up by?
So in 23-24, after there was a backdated pay award, which meant they basically received a 13% pay award. In 24-25, they received an 8% pay award. And this year, it depends what grade you are, but you've received between 5 and 6% on top of your pay. In this last year, the rest of the workforce, the non-medical workforce in the NHS, got 3.4%. So most of the rest of the public sector got 3.4%.
You would argue, Mr. Mortimer, that they're on a pretty good deal.
I think I would argue that right across the public sector, people have concerns about their pay. I think right across the economy, people have concerns about their pay. We did see a lot of so-called pay restraint in the public sector for a sort of 10-year period or so. But actually, in this last 3 years, there's been significant investment in resident doctors in particular to address their concerns. And so actually, I think whilst there'll be concerns that people will have for the longer term, in the immediate term, resident doctors have done better than anyone else in the public sector. And they've also had a set of commitments, particularly from the new government and also from those I represent in the NHS, to improve the way in which we organise, particularly training for junior doctors.
So why are they doing
resident
this?
Doctors work
if
really
they've had
hard.
It so good, Mr. Mortimer, why are they doing this, do you think? Is it political?
I don't. In what sense political, Tom? Sorry.
Well, is it that they're sort of radicalised in that sense? They are going to keep striking until they get the pay awards that see their pay brought back to the levels it was, or incrementally had risen since 2008.
I don't. That's absolutely the motivation, as you described it. I don't think that's necessarily a political thing. I think it fails to appreciate what has happened in the last 12 months since Mr. Streeting became Secretary of State, and I think it fails to appreciate where the government finds itself in terms of public finances. You've been touching on some of that today, I know already, and I think it fails to appreciate what has been possible for the rest of the public sector. And it's possible to have an aspiration to kind of grow, to be better rewarded, to be better treated, but perhaps to also recognise the context within which you're in and to kind of avail yourself of the opportunity. I think Mr. Streeting does want to try and find a way through the concerns that resident doctors have, that other members of the workforce have, but I think he's also been pretty honest about the fact that it's going to take a little while to do that. Really
appreciate you coming on. Danny Mortimer, Chief Executive of NHS Employers. So the backdated pay award, 23-24, as you heard, 13%, 13%. 24-25, 8%, 25-26, 5 to 6%, depending on your banding, as a resident, formerly junior doctor. Here's Frank in Colchester. Tom, I would readily pay more tax if I thought for one moment that the government of the day would use my hard-earned money to good effect. When projects like HS2, BAT tunnels, PPE scandals, furlough millions written off, let alone ridiculous health costs where there could be savings. There's nothing worse than seeing cash simply wasted, says Frank. Well, talking of the NHS, there look like there are going to be strikes again from junior doctors, again over pay again. John's in Hull. John.
Hello, Pat. Tom. Big fan of yours.
Oh, yes.
How are you, sir?
Yes, I'm very well, thank you very much. Pat's fine. Your thoughts on the junior doctors, resident doctors?
I'm absolutely incensed by their behaviour. I think for the last 3 years, they just wanted more and more and more. Can I just remind you, Tom, that when they actually graduated as junior doctors, they made an unreserved, unconditional oath that they're going to put their patients at the forefront of their occupation. They seem to be breaking that oath by actually going on strike again. If they're thinking of going on strike, they absolutely will be breaking that oath. And I'm absolutely incensed about this. Absolutely incensed. Look at all those poor patients who are going to be affected by this. And I think like the gentleman he was interviewing beforehand, a couple of not the last one, the one before. I think he kind of hit the nail on the head. I mean, they've had a good run for the last 3 years in terms of increases in their fees. I think they just gained an appetite to strike again and again until.
So you would not be in support, John. I think it's very clear. You would not be in support of those junior doctors going on strike again, the resident doctors.
Absolutely. I think they're more or less breaking their oath,
right.
Which they actually made, sir, on graduation.
Wait there, sir. Mervin's in Croydon. Mervin, what do you think on junior doctors' pay?
Hi, Tom.
Squire.
On junior doctors' pay, I would give them everything they're asking for. And at the same time I tell them that, I would say your defined benefit pension scheme, which adds another 21% to their pay, is ended, and the only pension they'll now be able to look for is what they save themselves. And I'd include all their highly paid specialists in the same thing.
So you'd reduce dramatically their pension contribution from their employer, but increase their pay up front?
Yeah, give it up front, and then every year they can get the cost of the inflation increase, but by God, their pension will not be rocketing up. And do a survey of every ordinary person in the country and ask them, does their employer top up their pension by 21%?
John, a thought?
Yeah, I mean, pensions on the pension side, I do agree. But again, I don't agree that they should be entitled to a pay rise. Not again, because like I said, they've had a good run for the last 3 years. I mean, for God's sake, when does it stop? I mean, what about nurses? Are they less important than doctors, than junior doctors? I think if anybody deserves a pay rise, it's nurses.
Merv?
Well, I agree. Give all the National Health Service workers what they're asking for and cut their defined benefit pensions. Well, that will save us a lot of money.
Let me read to you David's comment, Mervin. I bet all these people, Tom, complaining on the radio about the doctors' pay demands were clapping on their doorsteps a few years ago. Bunch of hypocrites. Mervin, you're a hypocrite.
Yeah, I'm a total hypocrite, but what I'm suggesting, gets the thing sorted out, and we know exactly what we're paying in the future.
At least he's honest. Mervin, thank you very much indeed for the call. John, thank you to you too. 03456060973. I'll get this on the old WhatsApp, which we have double-checked. We've double-checked this, yes, and it's true. This is true. There's projected to be 500,000 pensioners paying the top rate of tax by the year 2027-2028, and also drawing a state pension. Now, I think that's quite something, isn't it? 500,000 pensioners paying the top rate of tax because they've got brilliantly generous pension schemes, or they've had a private pension which is paying out. Fantastic. Well done. That is genuinely brilliant for you. Do you then need the taxpayers of now to be paying your state pension when you're a top rate taxpayer? Are we going to give £12,000 for free to rich older people on the basis that they're older? No, not anymore. Really? Tom's in Plumstead Common. Tom?
Yes, thank you very much. I think that I don't worry about the people with wealthy tax because I trust their accountants are doing their job properly. But I read the Sunday Times the weekend. It's depressing, isn't it? Sanjeev Kumar, what his name is, he owes £250 million in tax. And he took a £500 million dividend a couple of years ago. How did he get away with it? Ericsson, the ex-England manager, he died owing £9 million. And the HS2 is a money train. When you read the Sunday Times, it's so depressing. The Foreign Secretary has given away $94 million to Peru. He's going out there to give them a cheque next week. It's unbelievable. This country can afford it, but they're looking in the wrong places for it.
So we need to rein it in, do we? The spending that's going on, particularly, Tom, you cited, I think, something around foreign aid in Peru.
One of the things is, my wife died a year ago. I've took over some of her earnings, and straight away I'm bombarded by the income tax with new code numbers that start next April. They get on to me straight away because I'm easy. The man owes $250 million. They can't even find him now.
You referred to Sanjeev Kumar Susapillai, who own the oil company Prax Group, which collapsed into insolvency last weekend, owes the UK government as much as £250 million in unpaid taxes, according to two people with knowledge of the situation. That's a lot. Tom, thank you. Sarah's in Tunbridge Wells. Royal Tunbridge Wells, Sarah, hi.
Hi. So my view is, face value, I'm appalled. This is so greedy. These figures are like jaw-dropping. But then, on the other side, I know quite a few doctors, and they're all really reasonable, nice, intelligent, kind, committed to their work people. So I'm really split down the middle because whilst the figures are horrifying, there's this great big bit of me that knows doctors and reads about doctors, and they're generally pretty sensible, intelligent, reasonable, ethical people. So I'm really stuck with what on earth is going on. So it seems unreasonable, but there is this part of me that says, like, trust it. Trust that if they're fighting against it, then it might just be reasonable.
It's very difficult, Sarah, to say, we're all in this together, come on, junior doctors, do your bit for Britain, but wealthy people, don't worry about it, we're not going to ask you to pay any more. That's quite tricky, isn't it?
Yes. Yes, but a separate point to my point, which was more about this feeling that I can look at the figures and be like all your other callers, absolutely horrified and saying they're so greedy, but then at the same time thinking they must have valid grounds.
Well, they keep making those grounds valid in their own minds at least, because they've been on strike a lot recently, as you know, Sarah. Thank you very much indeed for the call.